Hello and welcome to episode 83 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we will set up the data bank, allowing us to store more than 16 data sticks for the assembly line. We will also refactor the oil refinery and set up 2 more interns in their cubicles, specifically a Blizz and an evolved cold Blizz. You know, it hurts just a little bit that there are no quest rewards for any of those 3 quests. But if you're this far in GTNH, you probably like the pain. Now that I have a ZPM assembling machine, I can go ahead and make these computer parts. And actually, while I'm at it, I'm gonna also go ahead and make the data bank parts. I don't think there's anything different beyond the computer parts, maybe the molten iridium, but you know how to make that. Well, if it isn't a roadblock. It's not a big one though, but okay, so look at this. To make the data bank controller, I need a network switch with QoS. To make that, I need an active transformer. To make this, I need a high energy flow circuit, which has a circuit assembly line recipe, but I don't think it's worth making yet. And the only other use for high energy flow circuits is to make infinite spacetime energy boundary casings, which I'm obviously nowhere near. So I don't think making a circuit assembly line is really justified yet. Regardless, to make the high energy flow circuit, I need superconductor ZPM wire, for which I need, obviously, superconductor based ZPM ingots, which is a ZPM vacuum freeze recipe, which is a bit annoying because I don't have ZPM energy hatches, so I have to double up on hatches. And I just don't like doing that, but I have to. And then to make the hot ingots, I need the dust, which is a trinium heat capacity craft, so I'm going to need trinium coils. And finally, to make the superconductor-based ZPM dust, I need a ZPM mixer, which again, I need to double up on hatches, and I don't like doing that. But I will, because I have to. Besides that, the dusts that go in are actually not too bad. So I just have to upgrade a bunch of these machines to ZPM using LUV energy hatches, and I need to make the trinium coils. And the trinium coils need a ZPM assembler, so I don't want to make too many ZPM assemblers, so I think I'll just manually deal with this for now. And luckily, making the trinium ingots is not bad. Especially now that I have 1,000 trinium. The deep iron from the meteor really carried me here. I can't even see it from here. There it is. Quick tangent to upgrade the coils, and then we'll make the data bank. They're really bright. They're way too bright. They're cool, but I prefer the Naquata ones. Real quick, I just want to say that my blaze rod supply has not been great. This little farm is not able to keep up, so I've made another cubicle, and I've hired another intern. Now there are some other random drops like bows and hoes and gold bars, but really I'm just after the blaze rods here. So I filtered this output bus to blaze rods. It's still pretty slow to be honest, but the extreme entity crusher gets perfect overclocks. And because this is such an energy hog, it uses 2 amps of LUV, I have an item detector cover set to 3 stacks and normal mode, and I have a machine controller cover set to disable with redstone. Actually, I should do it the other way, so that redstone on means machine on. So I'm going to enable with redstone, and I'm going to invert the item detector signal. So now when this output bus is full, it will stop. I just need to attach a drawer here and a storage bus, like the ender pearls, and then we're good. Data bank has been put together. Now the way this thing works is it stores a bunch of different data sticks. You can store them in advanced data access hatches, and you can have quite a few of these. Underneath here I have a data bank transmission connector, which has to go on the top of the multi-block, but I just rotated the controller block, so technically this is upside down right now. But the data bank transmission connector needs to be connected using these optical fiber cables, and these lead to the assembly line. So this is my old advanced data access hatch, and I'm going to replace this with an assembly line reception connector. And this will accept the optical fiber cable. And that's why I placed the data bank where I placed it, because it's right above the assembly line. Obviously, this is not going to scale well when I need more data banks or more assembly lines because there's just no space. So I may have to make a new building specifically for assembly lines or something. That's a future me problem. Now these cables aren't actually connecting because they need to be painted. I'm going to paint them light blue. Not only do I have to paint the cables, I also have to paint these two connector blocks. And they have to be painted. It doesn't work unless they're painted. And there we go, we have a connection now. I do have to power the data bank because it needs to be turned on. Luckily, it doesn't use that much power. So now I'm going to put my data sticks back into these access hatches. I have a few more in a chest as well. And now I can fill these up. And now I have way more space for these data sticks. And if we go back to the assembly line and check it out, it now says no valid recipe found. Which makes sense because I don't have any inputs. But if the data bank was off, it would say something else. It would say no data sticks found. Just to prove my point, let me turn this off. And now it says no data sticks found. So cool, it works. Now to continue, I'm gonna have to go back. What I mean by that is to continue, I need to do some flocculation of water, which is the third step of the water line. And back here in the LUV tab, there are a few quests that I never got around to doing. And these are the water line quests. So the water line starts here with the clarifier purification unit, where it takes water and turns it into filtered water, grade 1. This is a 2-minute recipe at LUV, so it's very slow and very expensive for me. And it only processes 1 bucket of water. So this needs to be running like all the time. The second step is to take the filtered water and combine it with ozone in an ozonation purification unit. There are a couple of different recipes here. I'll go into detail later, but the point is that this is also very slow and also very expensive in terms of energy. The third step is to take the ozonated water grade 2 and to put it in a flocculation purification unit, and that makes flocculated water grade 3. That's my current goal, and this is a ZPM recipe. Also very slow, also only processes a small amount of water. So my takeaway here is that I need to have some massive source of power that's dedicated to this, that is just going all the time. So I've put it to vote in the HamCorp Discord. And by the time you watch this video, that vote has long since concluded. But right now, at the time of recording, it's still going. So I need to find something else to do in the meantime. And there are quite a few things. First of all, I haven't finished migrating all of my chemical building stuff to LUV and to the new, more organized layout that I have in the rest of the chemicals plant over here. My oil refinery is a little flawed. It keeps bottlenecking, and so far I've just been manually dealing with it, storing the excess naphtha and heavy fuel. But I really need to clean this up because it is quite a mess. And I don't really want to be using these super tank buffers anymore. I think I want to just digitize everything and put everything in applied energistics. So that's another bit of work I can work on. The special ore processing building needs upgrades. I'm still using EBFs, not even using vulcanite yet. And of course the big one, the monazite line. I was never happy with this. If you remember, I was, I thought this was a mess. I still think it's a mess, and I want to refactor this completely. And this is going to add even more to my power demand, because if everything's at LUV and everything is running, that's going to use a lot of power. Luckily, there is still space for more extreme combustion engines, so I can burn more hog. I'm still not burning it as fast as I'm making it. I don't know if I'm going to show the whole process of me redoing all of these things because, I don't know, is it interesting to see me basically rip up an existing setup and then do it again? I don't think it is, especially if there are no major changes. And I don't think there will be. It's more of just reorganizing so it's more sensible for myself. I'll show it off when I'm done anyway, but I don't think I'll show the process of me refactoring everything. Just finished redoing oil processing. I've decided I no longer want to make cetane boosted diesel because I don't really need to. I don't use it as a rocket fuel because I have purple rocket fuel now. And I probably shouldn't be burning it because I feel like hog is probably better, more fuel dense. So I could either replace these large combustion engines with extreme ones, or I could start feeding them hog because these can also burn hog. And if I need cetane boosted diesel for anything, I can always just teach the recipe to my mixer or LCR or whatever. But something I did differently here is I tried to digitize everything. So now you can see I have output hatches, ME output hatches everywhere instead of super tanks and storage buses. And I stopped using P2Ps like I had before. And I did something that I haven't done before, which is I taught the recipes instead of hard sending the materials to input buses. So for example, here I have the recipe for a lightly hydrocracked naphtha dot, instead of just sending my naphtha here to be cracked. And I did that so that I could kind of let Applied Energistics optimize this for me. Of course, it can only optimize to the size of my patterns and also what patterns I've decided to encode. And I don't know if my choices are the best. But it works, and it's pretty fast. This was a lot less mental load on myself trying to figure out like how much I need to send to get cracked, how much I need to not send. There's just like a lot of different ratios, and because you can get the same chemicals from different things, it just gets really complicated. So I've just decided on a few recipes and I've taught them to the various machines, and I have a level maintainer here, and I have it set to maintain 32 million high octane gasoline. And I've dedicated 2 crafting cores here, one for making the gasoline and one for, yeah, that's right, for lightly steam cracking refinery gas, because I get a lot of extra refinery gas and I have basically no use for it. So I've just decided to crack the excess. Excess being over 100 million, which is a bit excessive in itself. I don't know if this is the best way to do it. I just thought it would be fun to try something different, and I do like it. So I think I'm probably going to do something similar with the monazite line because it's so complicated. But that one has probability outputs, so that might be a little tricky. Also, I have a lot of monazite to process from mining up the meteor that I summoned. Don't mind me, I'm just making a quick trip to a moon of another planet to pick up a mob. And the mob that I want is the Evolved Cold Blaze. You're coming home with me, you're hired. These have a chance of dropping Blizz rods. Not a great chance, but I think I have an idea for how to deal with this. The moon that these spawn on is actually Europa. Basically, I did this because my Blizz rod production and Blaze rod production are just not able to keep up with my demand. Even though I hired a Blaze intern. Unbelievable. And here is the workspace for our new employee. Ah, shit. I forgot to power it. I now have an Evolved Cold Blaze working for me. And this guy makes Blizz rods as well as Blizz dust directly. And cryothium dust directly. So that's pretty nice. And it doesn't have to spawn infernal, which is a huge deal because the blazes do. There are alternatives to the blaze. I just have to go find one. The ones that don't spawn infernal would be very nice to have. For example, this one, the evolved blaze. I don't know where this spawns, so I have to look into that if I want this. And you may have noticed there are some ME terminals here. And there is a reason for this. I've put each cubicle on a tiny little mini subnet. It's a bit cramped down here and hard to see what's going on. But over here is the Enderman cubicle, so this one might be the easiest to explain. So I have the super tank for XP. You don't need this. If you don't care about the XP, you can just void it. This isn't part of this little new subnet I've made. So what I've done here is I have 2 ME chests. One of them has a 64K storage cell, and one of them has a void storage cell. So this destroys anything that goes inside. And I have the priority of this chest set to -1,000. So things will only go in here once this cell is full, which is what I want. I also have a level emitter set to ender pearls and 8,192. This is arbitrary. You can make this whatever number you want, provided you have enough storage. And I have it set to emit when levels are below the limit. So this turns the machine on when I have less than 8,192 ender pearls in this subnet. And the reason I did this is because before I was voiding all of the other stuff you get from Enderman. So you may have noticed that there are other things like the Wrath Shards, Enderman Heads, Miniature Red Hearts. I figured I shouldn't be voiding them, but just a regular output bus is not going to cut it because some of these mobs have a ton of drops, and I'll come to that. Above this ME chest is a output ME hatch. The fact that this is set to ender pearls means that it's only ender pearls that matter, because that's the main thing I want here. The situation for the blaze spawner is slightly different because these have to spawn infernal, so they will always generate these random, like, kind of infernal mob special drops. They're just trash, basically. So I have quite a few things here. There's even some diamond equipment. I need to reprogram some things. But basically what I have here is the ME storage cell, the same voiding storage cell with a priority of -1,000, and another void storage cell with a priority of +1,000. But this one is filtered. So There's a fuzzy card on it, which means that it doesn't care about the damage level or the enchantments that are on these items. And I have it filtered to a bunch of different items. Iron hose, bows, iron swords, a bunch of different armor types. I don't really care about these, so I'm just voiding them immediately. There is one more upgrade I can do to the EECs. So I have a sword here. I don't know where I got it, but I happen to have a sword with looting 2. If I make a disenchanter, I can strip the looting 2 enchantment off of the sword. And then, if you remember what we did with the fortune books here, I can upgrade it to looting 4, which is the highest level that the EEC will accept. Then I can enchant some swords and boost the outputs here. And then these machines don't have to run for as long, which means less of a power draw, which is always a nice thing. And especially this Blizz one. Hopefully with the looting 4, I'll be able to keep up with my Blizz demand. Now, the disenchanter has a chance to damage the item that you have unless you surround it with books. I don't really care about this golden sword, so there we go. Man, I'm surprised I remember how this works. Wait a minute. How do I get looting 4? This didn't work. I guess looting 3 is fine. Now, as for the sword I want to enchant, that's going to be the etheric sword. Mostly because it has infinite durability, and I don't know if the EEC degrades my swords, and I don't care to find out. This is cheap enough. It's just obsidian and unstable ingots, so may as well. One final upgrade I can make at the cubicles is account for these tiny and small dusts. I really don't need to store them as tiny and small dusts. I can just compact them into the main dust and then store them here. That might be a bit better. And I imagine that as I expand the cubicles, more and more mobs will have tiny and small dusts that I need to account for. I have here an IV boxinator, but I'm going to upgrade it to the Amazon warehousing depot. This is probably overkill, but I just wanted an excuse to make this so I could finish the quest. That's pretty good. This has cleaned it up quite a bit. And using the stocking input bus makes it so that I don't have to think about like amounts and this thing getting clogged or anything like that. Cool. I now consider my Blizz problem solved, which means I can continue on refactoring my special ore processing. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will set up the power generation solution voted for by HamCorp employees and start working on the water line. In the background, when there's a lot of waiting time, we will refactor and upgrade the special ore processing building. At HamCorp, there is always something to upgrade and something to be done. See you next time.